Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric at Moss Pawn & Gun, and today we're going to be putting together another Mosin build, but this time what we're going to talk about is how to basically accurize an ATI Mosin. The ATI stock is probably one of the cheapest ways to restock your Mosin without spending a ton of money. You know, it's a polymer stock, very good quality, very strong, very durable, very water resistant. I mean, obviously it's just polymer. So what we're going to do is talk about some ways you can do a little bit of basic bedding on this thing. We're also going to open up the barrel channel a little bit so it floats the barrel a little bit better. And just some basic techniques you can use to accurize the ATI Mosin. You're going to need your ATI stock, which is of course very popular, which is why we're doing this video. We've gotten a lot of requests from you guys to talk about this. You're going to need your barrel action. This one's already had all the work done. It's got the scope mount on it. So go ahead and get all that done. Alright, you're going to need a drill motor. This is a 12 volt lithium ion DeWalt drill. You're going to need some drill bits. You're going to need a couple of rotary burrs. This is a cylindrical burr, and I've also got a round burr. So you ought to be able to get everything done that you need to accomplish there. You're going to need some Acraglass hardener and resin and release agent for the bedding process. Of course, your screwdriver sets, I mean, that's all given. I've got a little scalpel here, and this is what we use to clean up some of the edges. Once we break the edges and we make all those like little bits of scraps hanging off, we can use this to break the edges and trim all the scraps off. So either like a little sharp pocket knife or a scalpel like this will be just fine for that task. That's pretty much it. We're going to chalk this thing up and get started. Alright, basically when you put your Mosin action inside of the ATI stock, it's normally a really good fit in the action area, and a lot of times you'll have barrel contact being made along the upper edge of the stock, along basically what would be the wood line. And what we're going to do is take our cylindrical burr, and I'm going to show you the technique I use, and I'm just going to basically open that up. You see that there's a contour that follows the barrel channel that's opened up for the sight base and the chamber part of the barrel and everything like that. We're going to keep that contour. We're not going to lose that. This requires a great amount of concentration to do it right, because if you play around with this, you can screw it up pretty easy. We're just going to open up the edges, and that's going to remove contact from the barrel. We want to be able to free float it. Once our action is torqued down, then we can free float the barrel, and we won't be making any contact between the fore end and the barrel. We're also going to divot the tang area and the recoil lug area and give us a nice solid surface for those recoil forces to impart against. So we're going to lay Acraglass in those two areas. We'll get to that last. But first we're going to free float everything and make sure there's not any contact being made. When you're running this cylindrical burr, you're going to run it going away from you in this direction and going towards you in this direction. If not, it'll rotate out of the way and you can scratch the stock. You'll see what I mean in just a second. So what I do is I angle the burr about that angle right there. You don't want to lay it down flat like that. You want to lay it at about that angle, because all you're doing is breaking the edge along the top. Alright, and you're just following it, and you got to keep it straight, in a straight line. So watch this. It's kind of like a milling operation except by hand. You don't stop. Start in one go and keep it going. Then the same thing coming back. I'm going to start from the end, about that angle right there, laying across, maybe about a 30-degree angle. Just like that. You're going to repeat this process until you've removed all contact from the fore end. It could take a considerable amount of fitting, but this is how the process works. You're just going to continue that until you get a nice profile. You're going to match that profile moving away from the barrel, and you want about the same amount of space along all sides of the barrel. It can be a little bit of a pickle to do it, but it's not that bad. So I'm just going to work a little bit here. one continuous motion. Alright, so once you've inletted the stock to your liking, obviously this is going to need a lot more, but that's just to show you the concept. It's just like scaling a fish. You're going to take your sharp knife or your sharp edge and just drag it across. Just like that. And that's going to clean up all your sharp edges that you've created. Alright, you want to try to keep the opening of the stock nice and uniform. So this shouldn't be too hard. Just going to run this rotary burr in here and open it up. That's probably going to be more than enough. And what we'll do is we'll bring in our scribe and our cylindrical burr, and we'll make sure all these lines are straight. Alright, so let's move on. Alright, so we carved this bad boy out up front right here. Probably carved it out a little more than I needed to, but that's going to be alright. We're just going to grab our cylindrical burr, and we're going to continue to open up these edges, and hopefully from this camera angle you'll be able to see pretty well what I'm doing. See that? Basically all I'm doing is just all my trimmings, I'm using the knife and just drawing those off. Kind of like draw filing, except all you're doing is getting rid of sharp edges. I'm not going to lie, people, this process is a little bit labor intensive. Alright? You know, if you're too lazy and you don't want to do it, I mean, there's gunsmiths out there that'll do it. We can do it. I mean, gunsmiths in your area, I'm sure, will do it. The reason that I chose this stock is because I know that it's a stock that a lot of you guys are going to use because it's inexpensive, it's high quality. So we're going to continue along. This thing's opening up pretty good. We'll drop the action in just a moment, and hopefully you guys can see what's going on. Whatever you're doing, just make sure that you take an equal amount of material off in each pass. You don't want it to look all canny-wampus and crazy. So this is coming together quite nicely. I'm going to keep inletting it some more. And see, if you go a little bit over, like I don't know how well you can tell, but there's like one little spot right there where I went just a little bit too deep. That's fine. Don't panic, because you can always make one more pass and blend everything in. The main thing is you want to maintain this contour where these contours are. Alright, not too hard to do, just a matter of getting it done. Alright, so you can see right here where we've broken the edges of the stock quite nicely, and all we did was take our cylindrical burr and run it across the top and just kind of break that with keeping a nice straight line, a good consistent look. We're going to drop the cylindrical burr, hopefully you can see in the camera, down here towards the bottom, and we're just going to inlet this area a little bit to open it up so it doesn't touch the barrel. And you can see there what we ended up opening up was just this area right here where the barrel won't touch. You notice we didn't break that main parting line for the top of the stock. Alright, that's fine. For that little bit of overhang to be right there, we can just trim that right off. We can even bring in the burr. We can even bring in the burr at a different angle and trim that up right there if we have to. So hopefully that'll kind of remove a lot of the contact between the barrel and the stock. We can see that it's free floated quite nicely. That's just fine there. That's exactly what we want. What I'll do is I'll double check again and make sure that once everything is torqued down it free floats. Basically, once the magazine and action are torqued down together, there shouldn't be very little contact between the stock and the barrel. A little bit is okay, but you want to be able to slip at least a dollar bill under it, which would probably be 15 thou on either side, so I don't think that would be an issue. What I'm going to do now is take the action out of the stock, and I'm going to show you how we open up the tang and the recoil lug to accept our Akra glass, and then we should be set to go, and we'll go ahead and get some Akra glass in it. Alright, now we're going to take our drill, and we're just going to drill a bunch of little golf ball divots in here, fairly deep, to allow the glass somewhere to kind of seep into. The nice thing about the ATI stock is that it's very thick polymer. You can drill them really deep with this particular stock design because it's all solid polymer. So basically what that does is it allows the Akra glass to form a mechanical bond. All the Akra glass seeps into our holes, fills it in, and it basically, imagine it like it's a mold, alright? And the Akra glass is going to form a shelf, and then all the holes are going to form little legs, and that makes everything just kind of stay in there nice and sturdy. The whole point of inletting it is to allow the glass to have some kind of space to occupy. That way you're replacing the stock with the Akra glass, and when it hardens you've got basically a custom made stock for your individual needs. So we're going to move forward to the recoil lug over here and do the same exact thing. We don't have to you know, open it up with the burr. All we have to do is drill out our little divots. Alright, so what I did, I didn't show it on camera, but I just took some black caliper paint and coated the inside of the stock just for continuity. It kind of helps all the areas that I scuffed up blend in a little bit better. That's more of a cosmetic thing. You don't have to do that. We're going to take our Brownells Acra release agent, alright, and we're going to spray it all over this action. You definitely want to make sure that anything with threads or holes or anything that can create a mechanical bond is coated very well with this stuff. You do not want to play around. You think it's hard to break a mechanical bond with a wooden stock? Try doing it with a polymer stock. It don't happen. You have to cut the stock off the gun. Alright. And you know, this is probably overkill, but you really do not want to play around with this kind of stuff. Your magazine assembly, go ahead and hit the front of that there. Anything that could form a mechanical bond, you want to have good amount of release agent. This hole right here with the threads, coat it good. Don't go cheap on your release agent. It's going to cost you in the long run. Same thing with the threads on your action screws. Make sure those are hit real well. In fact, you know, hit the whole body of the screw if you can. Alright, we got our release agent sprayed on all the metal parts. You're not going to put release agent on the stock. It's just for the metal. So what we're going to do now is mix up our Acra glass. It's going to be 1 part resin to 4 parts hardener. That's why this bottle is 4 times as large as this one. Alright, so I've just got an old spray paint cap that we're going to drop some of this in. About that much will do. That's probably more than I need. I always end up mixing up more than I need, but oh well. Don't cheap out on your components. Do it right the first time. Same scribe we used to cut all the polymer away earlier. We're just going to mix up our Acra glass. One way that you know that Acra glass is mixed properly is that it actually emits a little bit of heat as it is mixed. So if you're mixing it in like a paper cup or something and the outside of the paper cup starts to feel a little warm, then you know you're mixing it right. So I'm going to get this mixed up. We'll drop the action in, and we're going to go ahead and start dropping glass here in a second. And we've pretty much reached the end of our journey here, so I'll reposition the camera and we'll give this a go here. Alright, what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of prep the area in the tang. We're going to start dropping some glass in because we want it to seep down into all our little holes and make our legs for the shelf, like we talked about earlier. Pretty straightforward process, guys. This is not rocket science. Some of you are probably asking, hey, well, you know, I don't want to buy Acra glass. What can I use? Well, if you want to be cheap, you can buy some 2-ton epoxy. That'll work. 2-ton epoxy has its limits, but you can use it. You can also use industrial automotive fillers, possibly, but I would say the 2-ton epoxy would probably be a little bit better choice for this type of thing. You can also use JB Weld if you don't want to go with like a 2-ton epoxy or Acra glass. I've never used JB Weld for this task, but I could probably see where it would work just fine. I mean, any strong epoxy can be used to form this type of a bond. Alright, you see that the glass, I'm poking the little scribe down in there, and that's just going to open up all the holes to get all the air pockets out and let the glass kind of sink down in there and make our bond. So I'm going to do the same thing on the front, and then we're going to drop the action in. The recoil lug is going to be a little bit more difficult to get all the glass to stay exactly where you want it. It's really not that big of a deal if you can't get every little bit exactly in place. Don't panic, but it will help. Alright, even just a little bit in the right spot can make a difference. You know, by supporting the recoil locking surface or the recoil shoulder from the sides right here is really going to help a lot. By keeping the action a little bit more concentric in the stock. I know that sounds silly, I mean, it's a Mosin, yes, but accurizing is accurizing no matter what gun you're doing it to, if that makes sense. Alright, so we're just going to torque these guys down pretty tight. See, the thing to remember is that we're not using any kind of bedding pillars. You don't want to screw them down so tight that it's going to end up pushing all the glass out of the way. You want the glass to occupy the space between the action and the stock. When you back the screws off, maybe about 20%. And then once the Acraglass sets up, you torque those bastards down as tight as you can get them, and that provides a nice solid surface for everything to clamp onto. So it's really about all there is to it. Okay, I'm going to take some extra Acraglass. We can see here on the tang that we got a little bit of space where it's kind of seeped in. See, the nice thing about Acraglass as opposed to Acragel is that Acraglass flows, whereby Acragel kind of stays put. So it depends on the process that you're using it for as to obviously which application you're going to see use with. It's okay to go ahead and cover the tang and the stock and blend everything in together with a towel like that. That's not going to hurt anything. So we just grab our paper towel and just wipe the excess away. The nice thing about polymer is that it's sandable quite easy. So if later on, if you got to draw a little bit of sandpaper across it and lift out some of the Acraglass, that's fine. So I'm going to drop just a little bit more. You can see how it flexes when I push down on the action, because remember, I do have it a little bit looser. That's fine, okay? Because once that bad boy torques down, it's going to be wicked. At this point, we're pretty much going to let it sit up, and that's it. Well, people, I hope that that helps you glean a little bit of knowledge about how you can accurize one of these ATI Mosins. I know that the ATI stocks are very popular right now. There's a lot of them out there. They're all over the place. It's probably the most common replacement stock for the Mosin series of rifles that you're going to find. They're well made. They're robust. You know, it's definitely a viable option. But they do require a little bit special technique in terms of accurizing compared to like a hardwood stock or an original military stock. So hopefully you found this video informative. I've actually got another Mosin over here that I bedded prior to making this video, and I just popped it open. Everything looks great using that technique. It free floats just fine, so hopefully that'll equate to some added accuracy and a little bit better stability. So hopefully you found this informative. I appreciate you watching, and be sure to check us out on Facebook, and we really appreciate the support. Be sure to subscribe, comment, rate. Have a good one.